Well, yeah,
Okay.
it's raining today in Accra. So
I was told earlier. I didn't even notice because
yes,
when I was getting
Super Hits Radio. Joy 99.
Oh, no. Cats and dogs all over.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's good. It's cool.
Well, yeah.
Just like the mountains.
Awesome.
I love it
Oh,
when it
man.
rains.
So today we decided to shelve all the issues that we have to talk about because we've received a couple of issues from some of our listeners. But today the Drive Doctor says that he has to address a very important medical issue.
Right.
And Doc, I know this is very, very dear to your heart.
Absolutely.
So really, tell us.
Right. So, good afternoon to all our listeners, and it's good to be on again another Wednesday. And yes, today we felt that we need to shelve all the letters that we get, and then today I want to do some public advocacy, talk about a subject that is dear to my heart. And it's simply because as doctors, we've been seeing quite a number of cases. I speak to my colleagues, doctors, and they all share similar concerns.
Okay.
About a trend that is happening. This trend sometimes can be seen as fashion, and people do it for different reasons. But as doctors, then we also tend to see the health effects of any particular trend, and then it is our responsibility to talk about it. So today I want to discuss skin bleaching.
Skin bleaching.
Skin bleaching.
Oh dear, and that's quite an age-old trend.
Exactly, but I think
there's been so much advocacy about it, but it's not going down.
It's increasing.
It's increasing.
It's increasing,
Okay.
and I think people are doing it not knowing that there are health implications of the skin bleaching. So today I want to just restrict myself to the health implications of skin bleaching and then leave it out there. I think that when people are educated, then they are able to make what we call informed decisions,
Right.
or informed choices.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
So let's talk about the skin.
Skin bleaching.
Skin
well,
bleaching.
if you have any question about skin bleaching as well, you might want to send a message to 0244340437 as we delve into the medical effects or the medical consequences, of course, of skin bleaching here on Drive Doctor episode.
Right. So this particular issue is a topic only in our part of the world, because we show a certain color in our skin. So let's just a little bit of biology. The skin is the largest organ of the body. It's the single, heaviest organ of the body. It accounts for about 16% of your body weight. So it covers
Is it?
up. Yes. So you may not think of it as something that is heavy.
16% of your body weight.
Exactly.
Ah.
And it is composed mainly of two layers, which we're able to distinguish under the microscope. So with your naked eye, you're not able to distinguish those two layers. And those two layers are the epidermis and then the dermis. All right. The epidermis, which is the outermost layer or the most superficial layer, is associated with certain structures. So you've got things like hair that sometimes pop out of the skin. So the hair is an associated structure of the skin. Then you've also got nails. So nails are also associated structures of the skin. Then we've also got what we call oil glands or the sebaceous glands. And then we've also, which produce oil. So sometimes during the course of the day, you realize that your face is quite oily and sometimes you have to wipe. Then you've also got sweat glands. All right. So these are the main structures that are associated with the skin. The skin is also very important in regulating how much water we retain in our bodies. So the skin is relatively impermeable to water. Can you imagine being in the tropics if water could just evaporate? And as humans, water accounts for about 60% of our body weight.
Yeah.
So can you imagine like this if water could just evaporate from your
body, your boy.
it would be terrible.
Yeah.
We'll all die. So it is this relative impermeability to water that allows for terrestrial life, for us to be able to live. So again, the skin is very important. The skin also produces a pigment, which we call melanin.
Right.
So there are certain cells in the skin we call melanocytes that produce this pigment called melanin, which gives us this dark color. And as a result, we are referred to as blacks or black people.
I see the melanin thing on Instagram a lot. These ladies put up pictures and be like, melanin popping. Melanin
okay.
popping, yeah.
All
That's
right.
yeah. Melanin popping.
So that's the color. And this melanin is very important because it provides protection against the harmful rays of the sun. So the light from the sun contains different rays. One of them we call the UV light, ultraviolet light. And when it hits the skin, it can cause changes to some of the skin cells that may even lead to the development of skin cancer.
Okay.
So the melanin is very, very protective. You know, a couple of years back, I think still that we do make a lot of good noise about the protection of the ozone layer, you know, to limit the harmful rays that will reach the Earth's surface. And it is because we want to limit the exposure. So for black people or for people who have melanin, then we've got this natural protection against the harmful effects of the sun.
Okay.
So every now and then, or most of the time, we hear about Africa this. If there's negative stories, it's always black people have done this or that. But if there's one thing that we can be proud of, it is that of the races, we are the ones most protected against the harmful effects of the sun. And it's one thing to be proud of. It's a safeguard that other people who lack color don't have. So this is a very important point, and it's a point that underpins most of the health, you know, problems we're going to talk about when it comes to bleaching. So I just felt that we should talk about it. So Alexis, what is skin bleaching? Well, bleaching is a process by which chemicals are used to lessen the melanin in the skin.
That melanin that you're saying is good for us.
Exactly.
That's lessened.
Yes. So when we bleach the skin, we want to take out the melanin so that we look lighter in terms of color.
So that's what it is.
That is what bleaching is, skin bleaching is all about. It is a process by which we use different chemicals to lessen the melanin in the skin. So from the medical perspective and from the explanations that I gave earlier, you wonder why anybody wants to lessen the melanin in the skin for medical reasons. So medically, then there would be no justification for wanting to do that. You may want to be doing that for other reasons. And I don't want to go into those details in this conversation. I'm going to restrict myself to the medical reasons. So most people may not know, but then they would say, oh, me pese me honam na etoso. But they do not know that they are actually reducing the melanin content in their skin. So what do they use? Most people use creams. I think a few months back, there was a bulletin released by the FDA of Ghana, banning certain chemical, or certain creams because they contained unusually high levels of certain substances or chemicals that would bleach the skin.
Okay.
And they have been making a strong push, to reduce this. So bleaching creams may contain a variety of ingredients, especially the unregulated bleaching creams that find their way onto the market. And unfortunately, in our part of the world, the regulatory systems are not as you would want them to be. So things are found on the market and you have them in very high concentrations. So like this, I want to talk about some of the chemical substances that are found in some of these bleaching creams that cause a reduction in the melanin.
You know there are also pills, right?
Absolutely. So
I hear
from the
that
pills, from the creams, I'll talk about the pills.
Okay, let's go to the cream now.
Right. So the commonest substance in most of the creams is something we call hydroquinone. Hydroquinone.
Okay.
All right. So this is a chemical substance that causes bleaching, or reduces the melanin content, of the skin. We, or some specialist doctors, called dermatologists, sometimes use this particular substance for medical purposes in hospital or in their clinics. So it is not as if hydroquinone in itself, it's a bad agent. It is how you use it, the concentration in which it is used, the duration for which it is used, that makes all the difference.
So it's just like tramadol.
Exactly. Good point. Like tramadol. So we use it all the time, but now people have taken it to a different level, taking higher than normal concentrations.
Yeah.
So hydroquinone is the main agent. So everybody who is listening out there, if you go out and buy a cream, please read the label, the ingredients. And if you find hydroquinone, well, then you know that the effect is that it is going to lessen the melanin in your skin. Then the concentration does matter. So usually we would look, we'll have a concentration. Most of the over-the-counter, some of these things are over-the-counter. You can get them in a lot of these cosmetics and beauty parlors, shops.
Yeah.
Usual concentration should not be more than 2%. Right. But then they will be found in higher concentrations because of the effect that they want them to have. Some of these manufacturers have also gotten smart, and they're trying to outwit the regulatory authorities and also consumers. So now the hydroquinone has other names. They put other more difficult to recognize names in place of the hydroquinone. So later on, I'll put a web address, on our Facebook page, Medicals Hospital, and then people can go on there. There are about 9 or 10 different names, chemical names, that are now being used to replace the hydroquinone. So sometimes they use 4-diol, quinol, P-diphenol. These are very difficult to remember names. So people see it and then, they think that, oh, this one it's not hydroquinone, but it's the same thing, same name. So if like they are synonyms. So that's the commonest agent. Then you also have steroids. Steroids in some of these creams.
You have steroids in them?
Yes.
Okay.
Steroids in some of these creams. So the commonest steroid that you find is something we call betamethasone. Betamethasone. Methasone.
Okay.
Every now and then I have to remind you of some of the names we learned.
I'll get there.
So these are steroids. And steroids are bad news. If you use them in an unapproved manner or in an unapproved way for a long period, then you can get certain complications. I'll talk about them later. But now there are newer agents that contain what we call botanicals. These are herbs. So again, that is also the deception that's being put out there, that these are natural products because they are plant products. But I keep telling people that plants contain chemical substances, alkaloids. So they are not necessarily safe because they are plants. And if you are not careful, then you may have very adverse effects. So there are a lot of botanicals or plant products that also have the ability to bleach, cause the cells that produce the melanin to stop producing, melanin.
Okay.
So again, there's a list. Then we come to the pills. So some people are actually taking steroid pills, and a lot of these pills are steroids. So again, in hospital, we use steroids a lot. Most people who have asthma will tell you that they use steroids that they inhale. People who sometimes have had surgery, for some brain tumor, hormone-producing brain tumors, we put them on something we call replacement therapy, and then sometimes we have to give them steroids. So steroids in itself or by themselves are not problematic, again, like tramadol. But then people are taking these steroids, and I got to realize this when I worked in the Asante Achim district, many years back. People were taking these steroids to enhance their physical appearance because it will give them fat deposition in certain areas that men like in Ghana. Then they started taking these steroid pills. And then because the steroid pills also inhibit the production of this pigment, this dark pigment, the melanin, then they also become light-skinned. People prefer the pills rather to the creams because the creams is difficult to apply and apply them uniformly. So then they tend to get this uneven or patchy, discoloration.
Yeah.
All right. But then when people take the pills, then they realize that it's a uniform, lightening of the skin. So a lot of people are doing that rather than applying the skin.
Okay.
It's also terrible.
Doc, so you talk about bleaching scientifically being reduction of the melanin.
Yes.
And you mentioned also that we in this part of the world are the ones with the melanin, right?
Yeah.
Now
the black people.
Yeah, the black people. Yes. So the white people, if I can put it that way, or the people on the other side of the world, they don't have melanin and
Yes.
they're living. So what's wrong with us if we take out the melanin?
Right, good question. Well, they're living, but most of the time they are living on the other side of the world. Sun exposure. So the sun is out, for example, if you take the UK, and I'll restrict myself to the UK, 3 to 4 months in a year? That's when they get the sun. For most parts of the year in the UK, it is not that sunny. So the exposure to the harmful rays of the sun is limited. But look at Ghana. When is the sun ever out? Except at night. So it's 24/7 and it's 52 weeks in a year. We're constantly exposed to it and it is harsh. So there is a reason why we have the skin color in our part of the world.
So then what are the effects?
Right. Just to finish up on that point. In our part of the world, the incidence of skin cancers, for example, very little. But in the Western world, among Caucasians or white people, you have higher incidence of skin cancer. So it's not as if it's problem-free. All right. So now let's look at some of the effects of medical effects of skin bleaching. The first thing is dryness and irritation. Depending on the substance in the bleaching cream, and there are different substances, some of them cause dryness of the skin. Your skin must always be moist. That's why we encourage people to drink a lot of water in a day, so that your skin is moist. No alcohol, just drink water, to get your skin to be moist. So a lot of these skin bleaching creams cause dryness and then irritation of the skin. And therefore they tend to scratch a lot. And as they are scratching, then they bruise the skin or they break the integrity of the skin, which is a protective barrier, and then leads to the development of infections just under the skin. We call that a cellulitis. So dryness and irritation is the first thing. Stretch marks. All right. Now, put a big caveat here. There are two types of stretch marks. Sometimes you get stretch marks in certain parts of your body because of obesity. Your skin stretches in those areas as you put on a lot of weight. Or as you go to the gym, and so most people will have it on their shoulders going into their armpits. They will have it there. People have stretch marks on their abdomen. People have stretch marks on their buttocks, and so on and so forth. So that's different from the other type of stretch marks that we tend to see in people who bleach, and it can be very unsightly. There's also the increased risk of skin infections. So I mentioned that some of the associated structures of the skin is hair. So you have what we call the hair follicles that pop out of the skin. So people tend to get something we call a folliculitis, where they get an infection of the follicle from the root all the way to the hair pops out. So you get these little bumps, tiny bumps around the base of the hair strands, and that causes infection. We also have something we call, it's a big word, we call it ochronosis. Ochronosis. So simply,
you can't eat banku and okro.
Oh no, you can eat banku and okro. People tend to get these patchy, dark patches. Look, like I said, you're many mashishi. So most people would recognize that if you go out into town. So you find these blue, black, irregular patches on these areas we call the sun exposed areas of the skin. So the face is very typical, the knuckles are typical, and it is because of hydroquinone in particular that produces that particular thing. Poor wound healing is also another bit. And surgeries face a nightmare with individuals who bleach. You cut, the skin is so damaged that it heals poorly, and then you've done your surgery neatly, but your wound is not healing well, and then it gives you, or that's another nightmare, scenario post-operatively. Now the skin odor, most people, and one thing we have realized is that those who reduce the melanin content in the skin, they tend to produce a particular odor, and it is because of the use of the use of a particular bleaching cream which has hydroquinone. We believe that when you eat fish, eggs, beans, it combines with this particular hydroquinone and produces a certain chemical substance which is excreted in the sweat and in the urine. And that is what gives them this fishy odor that some people who bleach suffer from. All right, so it is because of that cream. I mentioned that mercury is an unfortunate contaminant in some of these bleaching creams. Mercury used to be part of a lot of lotions and toiletries, in the early part of the 20th century, until they realized that mercury actually causes a lot of toxicity. It causes neurological problems, it damages your nerves, and then it also causes kidney injury. So mercury can also do a lot of damage, and a lot of these bleaching creams also contain mercury. So you end up destroying your kidneys and also damaging your liver.
Okay.
Sorry, your nerves.
Your nerves. Okay, good. Very delicate topic, honestly. But let me activate the phone lines so that folks who have questions can call in. 0302-216-541. We've been very educated about this bleaching phenomenon.
Yeah.
I know now there are other terms that they use, toning,
Absolutely.
or brightening.
Yeah.
Is it the same as bleaching?
Well, yes, they are using. I would say they are euphemisms, for bleaching, because I think because of all the talk about it, people feel uncomfortable using that word, so they would rather go for toning as a new word. But anytime you use a cream or any method that lightens the skin of a previously dark individual, you have reduced the melanin content in the skin. And once you do that, then we'll talk about it being bleaching, and then it will have some harmful effects.
Okay.
I must mention also that the steroid components actually in some of these bleaching creams can also lead to the development of diabetes and hypertension.
Interesting.
Yes. So again, these are difficult medical problems which are long lasting and can easily be avoided. So most people are doing it for the aesthetics or cosmetic reasons, without knowing that these are the possible side effects. And today, I just want to put this out there so that people can make an informed choice. If you know and you want to go ahead with it, then you know.
Okay. Anyway, says, thank you for addressing this issue. Some of those bleaching are now taking pills that bleaches thoroughly from the inside. You can't tell from their knuckles, elbows, and toes anymore that they were once dark. Can the doctor advise them on the side effects? And he's just done that. We have a phone caller. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Francis.
Your name is? Francis. Okay, let's hear you.
Super Hits Radio. Joy 99.7.
If we use the cream, okay. If we use the cream,
Super Hits Radio. Joy 99.7.
Asking what cream should we use?
Okay, you're talking about the cream containing hydroquinone.
Hydroquinone.
If it takes
Super Hits Radio. Joy 99.7.
I think that's what Francis wants to know.
Right. So we would say avoid the use of hydroquinone. So reading
Super Hits Radio. Joy 99.7.
So there's a list of these chemicals that we'll put up on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
People can then go there whenever you buy any cream, because I don't want to advertise any particular brand,
Yeah.
on air, but just make sure that it doesn't contain these substances that we've talked about. No steroids, no hydroquinone, and then you can use them. If you use it and it is lightening your skin, then it's bleaching your skin.
Hello?
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, sir. Let's hear you.
Mr. Titanos, Republic of Ashaiman.
Super Hits Radio. Joy
Doctor, how are you?
99.7.
Kudos for the education. We wish you long life and prosperity. But
Thank you.
you said some cells on the skin. You were mentioning some number of cells.
Super Hits
Can you
Radio.
please
Joy
repeat that for
99.7.
the hearing of myself and then to the rest of the world? This is what I have for you for now. Titanos, Republic of...
Okay. I don't know which particular one he wants you to reiterate.
Yeah, so some of
Super
the
Hits
harmful effects about
Radio.
the skin. So I talked about dryness and then irritation, stretch marks, recurrent skin infections.
Ochronosis. I remember
And then the
ochro.
ochronosis,
The ochro
yes, the ochronosis, which is this irregular blue-black.
I just want to confirm,
staining.
it's not that we should stay away from Banku and Okro.
No. It's just a nice name a lot of people can remember. Ochronosis.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we've got that fishy odor that I talked about as well.
Okay, well, very interesting conversation here. We've been educated a little bit. I hope you have been. Now you know. If you choose to bleach your skin medically, these are some of the things that you'd encounter. And this one says, advise us to use shea butter in Kuto. That's all. Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I mean, no problems, no bleaching problems with that.
Yes,
That's
yes,
very
definitely.
Ghanaian too.
And please ask the doctor, cocoa butter lotion does also bleach. Helen Amma.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't. So that's
Well, there's
also
more
so-
information on the Medicas Facebook page, and if you want to find out more from Dr. Osafo, you can get in touch with him. How can we?
Right. So if you want to get in touch with us, the phone number is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340. And we'll continue the conversation on our Facebook page, Medicas Hospital. If you want to come by, we're at Medina Firestone, just behind the SGSSB. If you want to enjoy some fresh air too, why don't you climb up the
Yeah.
Mensa Mountain and then come to Mount Pong and then see us.
Dr. Yaw Osafo, CEO of Medicas Hospital. Thank you very much, Doc.
You're welcome, Lexus.
Them a bleach out them skin, them a bleach. We look like a browning, them a bleach out them skin, them a bleach.
Super Hits Radio. Joy 99.